Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where today we're talking about facial removal. I am your host, Patrick, and with me today are.
My name is Lugia.
Who's who? I can't decide. Which one do I shoot? Yeah, I'm your host, Drum Arts, and I guess let's just jump into the news for the week. The new shocking plot twist for Tarantino's upcoming film, The Movie Critic, has been leaked. The plot twist being that the film is no longer being made.
Yeah, I heard about that a couple days ago. And that's a damn
Same
shame
here.
because I was actually kind of looking forward to it.
From what I understand, he's like very serious about his I'm only gonna make 10 movies rule. I think he's starting to overthink what his last movie's gonna be. So yeah,
Yeah, because
I
he
don't know.
wasn't happy with the script, right?
I didn't actually look into the details.
You know what the plot would have been?
Look it up. Word is that Tarantino had rewritten a script which delayed the start of production, and then Tarantino decided that he's just not gonna do it.
So we don't know what the plot would have been.
Yeah. Who knows though? Because apparently, The Hateful Eight was another movie that Tarantino worked on that he was going to whatchamacallit shelved because of one of the scripts accidentally got leaked out. But eventually he returned to the project after staging a reading for charity.
What if it was secretly
Oh,
going to be a live action film adaptation of The Critic? Like that would have been the ultimate twist.
yeah, it wasn't. From my understanding, it was going to
I
be
know
about
it
like kind of
wasn't. I know.
exploring like kind of
But
like the
just
seedy.
just imagine.
It was going to be kind of like a detective like seeding the underground. And he's writing movie reviews for a porno rag, so I imagine it was going to be kind of like hardcore, like Inherent Vice or something like that, where like he's exploring some seedy underbelly. The film was going to be set in California the year of the film's release, which was 1977, Rolling Thunder's release, and it was going to be based on a guy who really lived but was never really famous and used to write movie reviews from a porno rag. Anyway, I look forward to not watching your film, Quentin. On to, I guess, more pressing news. A24 was caught in controversy for the latest film, Civil War, for reportedly being very bad. I'm kidding. They got controversy because they made AI generated posters for Civil War. When asked for comment, the director Alex Garland said, "This is not the controversy I was hoping for. Why isn't anyone talking about the politics?" So yeah, A24 got caught using AI. A lot of AI stuff has been in the news lately, honestly, of companies using AI and then getting caught because it's really, really obvious, and they for some reason think that people won't be able to catch it.
Do you think it's because of budget reasons?
No, these are pretty successful companies. It's kind of absurd to think that they can't afford it. I mean, this is just a poster. Like, to pay someone like to Photoshop a poster, like that's not really like difficult. But I don't know. Honestly, I kind of don't get why like companies are doing this. Just because like AI tech is clearly not to the point. Like, if they just waited a few years when people will not be able to tell, they could probably like honestly get away with it. But like, it's people can tell. Just like if you like just zoom in on any picture, like you can pretty easily tell when something's like
Yeah,
artifact or not.
yeah, AI images have like this ugly tint over them that you can tell.
But yeah, I guess this is the new hellscape we're living in now. Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio has been cast as Frank Sinatra in an upcoming biopic directed by Martin Scorsese.
Do we know what it's
Uh,
called? Because I don't think I've heard about this.
Yeah, this is the first I heard about it too. What surprised me is that when I looked it up, for some reason, many of the quote retweets and replies expressed disappointment that Ronan Farrow was not casted. Because of this persistent rumor for years that Ronan Farrow is Sinatra's son, which is a complete bunked rumor. Like when Sinatra's estate was asked for comment like years ago, they were like, Mia Farrow is an insane person who harmed her family frequently through her spreading of rumors, and that they've said that like there's generally like zero evidence that Ronan could possibly be Sinatra's father because of I believe like Sinatra was impotent at the time. Like not only had a vasectomy, but he was like hospitalized and impotent when it happened. So like no way it happened. But yeah, Sinatra biopic could be pretty interesting. I know Scorsese made a movie called New York, New York years ago, which was not a Sinatra biopic, but it was obviously, named after a Sinatra song. And I believe Sinatra was an Italian American who lived in Hoboken, New Jersey. I can buy it. I think DiCaprio looks like Sinatra. They got similar baby blues.
I'm curious what direction they're gonna take this biopic. Like, is it gonna be like a serious summary of his life, or is it gonna be kind of like Elvis with Baz Luhrmann at the helm, where it's a little more eccentric?
Knowing Scorsese, I don't know because he's done The Aviator, which is a pretty standard biopic, but he's also done Raging Bull, which was not a standard biopic at all. And then he's also done, like stuff like Wolf of Wall Street and Goodfellas, which are all like these kind of like epics that are kind of about a moment in life. But um, I don't know. A lot of biopics have kind of aped his style. Like I saw I, Tanya not too long ago, and it very much felt like they were trying to make like a Scorsese movie. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's our news for today.
All right, shall we get to the main
Face
event?
off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my face off.
All right, so Face Off, or Face Slash Off, that's the title, was directed by John Woo, starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, who we've talked about several times in the past, specifically Nick Cage. I don't think we've talked about John Travolta since Pulp Fiction.
No, Blowout.
Right, Blowout, my bad.
Other than that, yeah, I think that's it.
So Face Off had a budget of $80 million and made roughly $245 million, so it was pretty successful. It was written by Mike Werb and Michael Colleary in 1990 as a spec script after a mutual friend got in a hang gliding accident and needed facial surgery. They needed to remove his face and reconstruct it, so that's kind of where the idea came from. So Face Off had a number of celebrity pairings that didn't go through, and I think some of them are pretty interesting. Some of them being Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Archer and Troy, respectively. There would also have been Michael Douglas and Harrison Ford, and Alec Baldwin and Bruce Willis. Johnny Depp also was gonna play Archer until he read the script and he said, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this." And Michael Douglas was still a part of the movie's production as the executive producer, so we still got some work in there. And just a brief fun fact, the names Castor and Pollux are a reference to Greek mythology, as they were the twins that were transformed into the Gemini constellation by Zeus. And also, there is supposed to be a sequel. It was announced in September 2019, and it would have been directed by Adam Wingard, but nothing has really come out of it since, except for yesterday, when there were rumors of Nick Cage and John Travolta returning for the film.
Really?
Yeah, just yesterday.
How about that?
On 420. There still really isn't much to go on. The movie was likely held up because of the pandemic and the WGA strikes. If it becomes a thing, sure, I guess. But what is Face Off about? Well, we have FBI special agent.
Not a guy who wants to take his face off.
No, he wants to take his face slash off.
To take his face off.
And
So,
what you were saying, Patrick?
thank you, Lugia. Face Off is the story about special FBI agent Sean Archer, who lost his son from a terrorist attack by Castor Troy, and 6 years later, he manages to hunt him down, and he is put into a coma after getting blasted off by a jet turbine. And all seems well until they also catch his brother Pollux, and it is revealed that Troy placed a bomb somewhere, and it is going to kill a lot of people because the blast radius is like 100 square miles. I forget the exact distance. But needless to say, it's one last laugh from Troy, and they gotta defuse the bomb. However, Pollux is not willing to cooperate, and he will not talk to anybody about the bomb aside from Troy himself. So, a wacky idea comes into play. A doctor approaches Sean Archer and says, "We can facially reconstruct you. We can take Troy's face and give it to you. We can turn you into Troy." And obviously, Archer is very hesitant about this decision, but with enough time and realizing that one, it's his job to help save people and stop terrorist attacks, and two, he really has a vendetta against Troy, but he goes through with it. He becomes Troy. He wears his face, and he's able to get the details on the bomb's whereabouts. However, Troy is still alive and well. He was in a coma after that accident, and he takes Archer's face. So now the two are essentially living the other's lives. So now Archer has to stop Troy from messing up his life in his face. I'm gonna be real, the premise of this was not what I expected it to be. Like, with a name like Face Off, I was not expecting them to actually, like, change faces.
What were you expecting?
I don't know. I thought it would just be like a simple John Travolta.
You thought it'd be like
versus...
Heat, where like it's two people
Yeah.
like facing off against each other.
And in essence, it is kind of like that, but with a body swap twist. So now, like, one side of the law is with the other side of the law, and vice versa. So, like,
So
they get to
basically,
be in
what we
their
got
shoes.
is so basically it's Heat
got
meets
Heat.
Freaky Friday.
No, I was gonna say Heat mixed with more of like a Wrong Man Hitchcock thing, but honestly, yeah, that works too.
But, like, as I watched the movie, the name just made sense. Like, oh, they actually swapped faces.
Yeah, that's why it's
So,
face slash off instead of just face off. They want it to be clear that face and off are two separate words and not part of the
it's a
same
double
phrase.
meaning because they're taking their face off and also they're having a face off.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's just the general plot. So, what did we think?
I thought it was really
So-
funny how the villain was a better father and husband than the hero.
In what sense?
Clearly, his wife likes the villain more. Like, she was like, oh, wow, our marriage is doing so good. And then she finds out it's a different dude. And she's like, oh my God. It was like, but
Well,
their
well,
marriage
remember, he
is
spent-
so clearly doing better.
Now, do you mean
No,
Castor
remember, Sean spent 6 years just focused on trying to get the guy who killed his son, so he hasn't really been there for his family.
Which is why she fully believes the shift in behavior. But at the same time, we also clearly see that after he does it, like Sean is like all like he's still got to stick up his ass. Is like, you know, this drink goes out to all the people who died. Whitney, like he does not like let up. He's still acting just like this, and then the switch happens, and then so like it's fully believable for why the wife doesn't suspect a thing, but it's also just like really funny how the lead doesn't actually like change. He's still like that asshole. And the actual reason like her husband is like all nice is just because it's a different guy. Also, it's really funny how the hero just steals the villain's baby.
I mean,
The
both
villain's
his parents
son.
are dead, so
I know, but like it's still like fun. He doesn't even like consult his wife or anything. He's just like, honey, I brought home a kid.
maybe
Look.
off
I
screen they
know
consulted with the authorities to make it official. I don't know.
they didn't because the wife is
said
very clearly surprised.
Maybe off screen. I don't know.
After the film, sure, but like during the actual movie, we see the son's like, by the way, like at the end of the movie, he's like, by the way, I brought a kid, and the wife is very clearly shocked, but she's just like, okay.
probably because the kid looked like Michael?
Like a weird thing, like he was like, it's okay that her son has died. I found a new son that looks just like him. Like, I don't know, there's some weird, like, psychosexual shit going on here, man. It is fucking bizarre. Also, the villain teaches, his daughter self-defense, which, you know, is, I know, a Chekhov's gun for when she needs to escape from him, but, like,
That kind of bit him in
Again,
the
like
ass
that-
later on.
yeah, but, like, also, that is, like, decent parenting, like, teaching your daughter self-defense. Like, yeah, that's decent parenting. So, again, I just think it's kind of funny that, like,
Well,
honestly,
what about
they kind
the
of, like...
smoking habits, though?
Yeah. Also, the hero is like clearly has like a better relationship with the villain's wife too. So like them swapping places was probably like for like their personal lives. Probably not a bad. It was kind of good for their personal lives. Like obviously like not good in any other way, but like, it's just kind of funny to me.
Well, to talk about the daughter, when Troy with Sean's face first saw the daughter, I got incredibly nervous because he approached her and said, "You got something I crave," but he was just reaching for the cigarettes. And I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
Oh yeah, I think they definitely wanted you to think it was gonna be creepy.
Yeah,
Because, like,
but
He was
isn't,
still
like, the
creepy
opening...
around her. Like, remember at the end
was-
where, like, he
I'm
holds
like,
her
it could
hostage
have
and
been
he licks her
It could have
face?
been so much worse.
But like, he was definitely like creepy towards like children because like remember like the opening scene where he like gropes that woman in the choir, and he's like, and like Nick Cage does that like
Dude,
weird O
the
face.
the context was everything because initially I've seen that gif before so many times. I thought like Nick Cage was just like being funny and just trying to like sing in the choir really loud and he just makes a funny face.
He's a
Maybe, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, no, he's just a pedophile.
He fucking creamed.
Oh,
That
yeah.
caught me off guard knowing the full
Nick
context
Cage
for
in the
that.
opening. It's really funny how like Nick Cage in the opening scene is like the funniest shit I've ever fucking seen. And then
On the
John
fucking
Travolta is
Walking
plane.
through the hall, he sees the choir, he just starts busting out a move.
And when he's on the plane and he shoots one of the cops, he's just like, oops.
we need to talk about the performances. Okay, so Nick Cage is just insane for the first half for the first like third of the movie, and then and John Travolta's got a big stick up his ass for like the first third, and then the rest of the
And then
movie is
vice
John
versa.
Travolta acting insane, and Nick Cage is a giant stick up his ass. And it's really like funny seeing like John Travolta trying to be Nick Cage, and then like that one scene in the prison where Nick Cage is trying to be himself. Like it's weird. It's like Nick Cage is pretending to be John Travolta, pretending to be Nick Cage in the prison scene, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, the performances from both of them were just fantastic.
Yeah, because the weird thing is like you actually fully believe like that John Travolta is Nick Cage's character. Like the continuity actually like you don't think like John Travolta is like very specifically doing like the same type of hammy that Nick Cage is doing in the first. So like it's interesting. You don't see that often where like two different actors play the same character and like there's an actual kind of sense of continuity. Same with like Nick Cage playing Travolta. Like they both got like a very similar kind of stick up their ass. So yeah.
So I love when Sean first like tries to do like a creepy Nick Cage face to his brother. Like an electric guitar just goes pew.
Yeah. Anyway, what'd you think of the direction? Because like the direction was fucking crazy.
A lot of the action sequences were like so bizarre, but they had a sense of creativity to them. Remember that scene at the hideout when it's just John Travolta and Nick Cage and they're like they have their guns and they're standing behind a mirror. And then
Oh,
when
Yeah.
they turn
that was
around,
great.
they see their reflections in the mirror. That was such a great touch.
And they shoot at them. Yeah, that
And you know what was
that
crazy? This is in terms of like his movies. This is kind of considered like middle of the pack for John Woo. His best movie, like Hard Boiled, is so fucking insane, dude. Like the shit they have in Hard Boiled. The day you guys see that movie, you're gonna like you're probably just like after the movie ends, you're just gonna sit there for like a few minutes just trying to take all that shit in. And like this movie's already like crazy over the top, but like just imagine that, but like with like Hong Kong like stunts and like a degree of camera control not here because like here there's a lot more quick cuts and like kind of shakier cameras, but I love how many doves they are. That's another John Woo kind of like staple where he kind of like realized that having doves like fly up and like having slow motion is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, a lot of birds in his movies.
actually
Did you guys
speaking of,
notice that?
Yeah.
You know, the
only
birds.
at the end.
I didn't really notice
But speaking
that was a John Woo staple though.
Yeah,
but
no, it was
speaking
all
of
throughout the film. Like, you probably just noticed it at the end because he particularly laid it thick at the end. But like, it was in the opening scenes too, and a couple times like later. Although like not as prominent in the middle, but like the opening and the ending, they had like a ton of doves. It's
And he
crazy.
does that in most of his other movies.
Yeah, the doves thing is kind of a John Woo thing.
speaking of the direction and editing, I have a question for Patrick actually.
Yeah.
So, as we said, there are several instances where they slow down and alter the shutter speed, and I know you're not a fan of that. Did you think it was used effectively here?
They didn't do it too many times in this movie. And when they did, they were very, very brief instances anyway. Like, off the top of my head, I
I
only
thought
remember one in the prison scene, and that was it.
Oh wow,
the
you're
big one,
committing
the
to
big one that stood out to me
you're
was
fucking
when he
committing to the
took
bit, huh?
was when he took off his wedding ring, and was when he took off his wedding ring and was handing it to Tito. Like I think it felt like that to signify, remember that, remember his
Yeah,
marriage and what's gonna happen. I don't know. I felt it was effective here.
I just noticed that you called him Patrick, and I was like, man, you people are committing to this bit. All right, god damn.
It's the only time we're gonna do it.
It's like, well, when I say Patrick, who do I refer to then? Because they're both
Me!
Patrick.
Red, we've been doing this for what 137 episodes.
Yeah, but when I say Patrick,
I've always been Lugia, and he's always been Patrick. What are you talking about?
Like you both have the same profile pic. You didn't even switch it. Luke, you didn't even switch it.
About?
Red, I think you need to relax.
I know I switch my profile picture up sometimes, but Patrick has always had that zoomed in face.
It's always been Mr. Small.
Always been.
Have them.
Well, I mean, other than the early days.
You do. Oh wait, for some reason my Discord wasn't loading up. So for the whole time, you and Patrick had the exact same profile pic.
Huh.
It just updated right now on my Discord. So this whole time, I thought you two just had the same profile pic. Okay, that's why in the opening I was like, oh, which one do I shoot? Because like you look the same to me. All right.
To go back to the action, yeah, the showdown with them in the mirror was great. And the opening and ending action scenes, to me, they both felt like they would fit right into Speed. You got that opening with the jet and the helicopters and the trucks.
I could see how Nick Cage's performance here is like similar to Dennis Hopper's.
Yeah, I definitely think
ending boat chase. The ending boat chase. Honestly, I was laughing at the very end when the boat crashed into the harbor and it's them flying through the air. The boat's on fire and doing a flip. Like
The
that
way
got me
the
for
way
some
the
reason.
boat pierced into the other boat.
I was just like, this is so over the top, but like, I fucking love it.
Dennis Hopper really does feel like a precursor to Nick Cage, huh? And since you mentioned it, yeah, I kind of feel like John Woo and like Tony Scott, they both were like pretty heavily influential on like a lot of '90s onward action. Because like Michael Bay just feels like a mix of John Woo and Tony Scott and so on and so forth. I kind of like the weird magnet shit they had going on with the prison. It kind of reminded me of like
boots.
yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, okay, this is probably gonna sound fucking insane to any normal person in the audience. Do you guys remember the Zone Police and the Archie Sonic comics?
Sonic the Zone Cop, yeah.
So in their prison, they kind of had like a similar thing going on with like kind of gravity boots, except like it's because like everyone walks kind of sideways, so they kind of have these like kind of I don't know. It kind of reminded me of that, and also like from understanding, Andor has like electric floors in it. So I don't know. I always like movies where like they have a prison with like a really weird gimmick going on. You guys got anything else?
It's
can't
just
really
a
think.
small thing, but they did mention like during the facial reconstruction that the only way that someone would be able to tell that they're different people was because of the blood type. And they're like, but that's not gonna happen. Like who pays attention to that? And then you realize Archer's wife is a doctor.
Yeah.
And that actually gets used to great effect later on, because that's how she finds out that Troy and Archer have swapped
Did they
faces.
replace his like fingerprints or something?
That's another thing I was thinking. Like the fingerprints probably could have been.
I don't know. I don't think they ever
Like just
mentioned
like
then
any
again-
DNA. It doesn't even have to be blood. It can just be like any DNA. Because like DNA
Yeah,
tests
because again,
existed in the 90s.
it's just the face. Granted, the face is what you focus on when it comes to another person, but like
And the voice, like the face, and like they
Yeah.
did go through the extra effort of the voice thing, but I mean that's just because like they can't have
I
Travolta
don't know.
doing.
Maybe I'm probably just overthinking this. But
Well, we don't need to like
I
honestly
still-
like litigate the premise. It's a dumb premise, but like that's part of the
I
fun
know
of
it is. I know it is. I still enjoyed it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. My
Now-
mind sometimes goes places.
I want to talk about another movie for a brief second. So there's this movie I watched around the time I saw this around the time I saw Face Off, honestly. And like it threw me off because they're very similar movies but also very different. So there's this Indian movie called Dawn from 2006 that it feels like it was heavily inspired by Face Off. Apparently it's a remake of some like 60s kind of like Bond Hitchcock riff, or like some 70s Bond Hitchcock riff. It was like, so this guy basically so there's this regular dude in India who looks exactly like this criminal. So when the criminal like dies, they just have this regular dude going undercover as the criminal. So it's very similar to kind of like when Nick Cage kind of goes through during Face Off, the Travolta character that Nick Cage plays. And yeah, and it was really funny is that because it was made in 2006, so like the original one is just like very much a Bond riff thing, but the 2006 one is clearly made in like a post-Matrix, post-John Woo world. The movies are very similar, and also Shah Rukh Khan and the actor and Nick Cage have like a very similar kind of performance style. So if you like Face Off, there's a Bollywood movie that's basically just Face Off again, but like different. That you can watch. So watch Don, and also Don 2.
How do you spell that? Just D-O-N?
D-O-N, 2006, yeah. I might actually
Let me
talk about it on the
ask,
podcast one day, because it's one of the first,
Let me ask, which one do you prefer?
I genuinely don't know. I think I like them about the same. So yeah. Oh, actually, the main character is Sholay. You guys remember Sholay?
But which one? There were two
What's
main
Cholet?
characters.
No, yeah, I'm kidding.
The serious one, the one that died.
Jay. Okay.
He's actually in the original Don, the 70s one.
Oh, really?
He's Don in the 70s one. So yeah, it's kind of like a basically like the Don remake is like, because Shah Rukh Khan is basically the biggest star of India like at that time, and Amitabh Bachchan was the biggest star of India in the 70s. So it's kind of like so yeah, it's kind of interesting there. I've not seen the original 70s film, but I probably will eventually. I'm sure both films are good, just because from what I've seen of the original the 70s Don, I've seen like a few clips. It looks like a pretty solid like Bond Hitchcock thing. So one more, I guess, yeah. So I guess one more recommendation. If you like this movie, I'd recommend Con Air because it's also Nick Cage basically like undercover as a criminal. That one's more of like a riff on Die Hard, but it's still like it's kind of similar. It's also directed in that kind of similar 90s kind of Tony Scott, John Woo style. So I'd recommend Con Air if you like this film too. I enjoy him about the same.
All right.
I guess to wrap up, I'm in a similar boat as you, Patrick. I didn't really know what to expect from this film, but I was very surprised. I was on my edge the entire time. Performances were great. There was some cool action. I was very impressed by this one.
I know
Yeah.
you said I would absolutely love this. Yeah, I absolutely love this. Like it got
Yep.
intense a few times. Like I don't really like body horror, so like when they were taking off the face, that kind of made me wince a little bit.
Yeah,
But like
no.
I love the premise.
All right. I believe it's your recommendation. Well, I guess. Well, no, because it was Lugia's recommendation.
No, it's Lugia's
So
recommendation.
it's Lu.
Hu-
Well,
hush,
we
hush
just
you.
did Lugia's recommendation. So
It's
like
Lugia's turn.
uh. Oh, okay. Yeah, fine. Whatever.
Do we tell him? Do we tell him, Patrick?
Leave him in the dark.
You sure? Because I feel kind of trapped.
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
corner.
already. Lugia already did this recommendation. This was Lugia's recommendation.
You know, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him. Red, 2 days ago, me and Patrick thought it'd be funny to undergo facial reassignment surgery for the sake of the fact we're talking about Face Off. So, yeah, we swapped
Judas.
profile pictures. Okay, so this is Patrick in Lugia's body. It is my recommendation now. So, I realize it's been quite a spell since we last gave the spotlight to a musical. So I'm gonna do that.
What's the
And
last one we
this
did?
Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Really?
Yep.
Well, unrelated, I started watching Mad Men like earlier, like a week or two ago, and in season 3, there's this one episode where they're all the characters are enamored by Bye Bye Birdie, and because of that, I've had the opening song of Bye Bye Birdie stuck in my head all week.
This ain't Bye Bye Birdie, but this is one that was on Broadway around the same time, and this is a musical I am quite fond of. Though I've never actually seen the film adaptation, so I am very curious. Up next is the 1962 film adaptation, The Music Man.
The Music Man, 1962, by Morton DaCosta, who does not have a long filmography. Oh wow, one of my friends that reviews a lot of movies negatively
Did
likes
you
it a
actually
lot.
like it?
Yeah, but also one of my friends that likes a lot of classic films does not like it, so that's kind of interesting. I'm looking at Letterboxd. I was like, what of my friends' reviews are. So that's kind of interesting. So I have no idea what I'm going to think going into this.
All right. This has been It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around and watching. And if you don't mind, I want my face back.